This is Leron Dugan, class of 2024, sharing his plans and ideas for an SIP titled Identifying Identity, Uncovering Socialized Performances of the Self Through a Multimedia Lens. The animating question for this project is, how do projections of the self in media reveal conventions of self-identification as a fabricated but reactive entity? I hope to answer this question by focusing my studies around both new media and film, looking closely at patterns of narrative structure and character building, and paying attention to the ways that social conventions are upheld. In addition, I'll be asking about function and how they have been observed to change and respond to shifts in time and culture. I would like for my research to manifest into an interactive piece wherein one is consumed by darkness and is forced to interact with curated sounds and visuals projected on a screen that will occupy that darkness with those interacting. This is meant to reflect and exaggerate the experience of being consumed and controlled by social media, hopefully starting a conversation about the ways in which problematic binaries are encoded within our social fabric, as well as within the virtual spaces that we create for ourselves. Here are my inspiring artists and how their work informs my process. Derek Reef is an award-winning organization and platform promoting and creating works in contemporary photography. They are a print publication, online publication, and curatorial team all in one that presents the works of photographers and authors of different origins. One of these artists, Stacey Rahar, has an installation piece titled The Moon Belongs to Everyone. In this piece, she communicates her awareness of the changes in dynamics of identification in a world that is becoming a global community as opposed to one comprised of much smaller national identities. In her writings on this particular piece, she mentions a quote written by Salman Rushdie in his text, Imaginary Homelands. This quote is likely to be emblematic of the general ideas and motivating curiosities and cognizance that has driven her work and in this particular piece. Sasha Constanza Schock is another creative mind that I've been looking at in my studies. They're a researcher and designer who works to support community-led processes that build shared power and dismantle institutionalized inequities in tech. In their writings and in their research, they advocate for more deliberate design and construction of apparatuses and technology within our society. And with that, they believe that we can manifest a better world, one that addresses so many manifestations of inequity and inequality that disproportionately affect marginalized identities. This obviously resonates with me on a personal level, but also on a creative level, as I feel that social media is one of the technologies that need to be designed more deliberately, as opposed to creating apparatuses that reflect our social circumstance and our social conventions. We should create forms of media, both social and cultural, that manifest and advocate for a better world than the one that we are currently occupying. One of their key principles in their book, Design Justice, really stands out to me. As it says, we believe that everyone is an expert based on their own lived experience, and that we all have unique and brilliant contributions to bring to a design process. This quote communicates a lot of ideas of inclusivity and increased visibility of marginalized people that I feel is integral in creating technology that manifests a better world. Here are my next steps, which are basically just questions that I have left to answer for my work in the next 2 years. How do I plan to sift through all of this data and content? To attempt to answer my animating question by analyzing visual manifestations in the mass media, I need to be very meticulous in what I select to analyze and what I select to manipulate for my own final project. In my conversations with Dr. Martin, another member of the Connecticut College community that I've been talking to during my creative process and my research process, I have become more aware of the context of screens and how they inform media consumption. So I would like to include that in my research and hopefully include that in my final project. This also connects to the common understanding that technology choreographs human behavior and engagement, thinking about how there's only one way to use a laptop. You sit down, you open it, and you type on it. It's basically that idea, and I think that that's also something that I should be critically aware of when conducting my research. When analyzing cinema, I think I should account for the ways in which cinema culture and the structures of the industry have changed in response to the growth and accumulation of new media forms that I'll also be studying. Most importantly to me, I think I should take significant consideration of particular aspects of intersectionality, such as race, gender, and sexuality. These are definitely going to be seen in the visual content that I'll be analyzing, and I need to make sure that I have a way of taking apart these many intersecting identities and figuring out how I can identify patterns of representation that reinforce negative and imbalanced dynamics of power in our society. Thank you so much. I hope that you have a better idea of what I'm trying to do, and I hope that you have a great day.